So I just came from the movie, seeing Fighting with My Family, directed by Stephen Merchant. And as you can see, I didn't bother to make my bed for this video, but don't judge me. I didn't feel like doing it. So yeah, Fighting with My Family. Fighting with My Family is a biopic, or is it biopic? Bio? I'm gonna go with biopic. Fighting with My Family is a biopic based on the life of Soraya Bevis, aka former WWE Divas Champion Paige. And I gotta say, honestly, going into this movie, I didn't really know anything about the WWE Champion Paige because I fell off of wrestling a long time ago. Like, I used to be a huge wrestling fan back during the Attitude Era. And interestingly enough, my favorite wrestler was always The Undertaker. But eventually, as the years went on, I just started to fall off. I wasn't as interested in wrestling as I used to be. But every so often, once in a while, I'll go back and check out some old clips, especially when The Undertaker returns. But yeah, Fighting with My Family, I didn't know anything about Paige. I didn't know anything about her life. I've never heard of her before. But I say all that to say that you don't really need to be a wrestling fan to enjoy this movie. I really enjoyed this movie way more than I thought I would. When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was just like, oh, that looks like it might be cute, but it wasn't something that I was actually interested in seeing. But I had some free time on my hands, and so I decided to go see it, and I do not regret seeing it. And I really enjoyed the performances in this movie. Like, Nick Frost was definitely a standout, but of course the lead actress, Florence Pugh, I hope I'm saying that right, she was just phenomenal. And her brother, played by Jack Lowden, this is the first thing I've seen him in. I know this isn't the first movie that he's been in, but I would definitely love to see him in more stuff because he was fucking great. The family dynamic in this movie was great. Like, there wasn't a weak performance in this movie. And it was cool to see Lena Headey, being that I've seen her in Game of Thrones so long, playing Cersei, and Cersei is so evil. It was nice seeing Lena Headey be the exact opposite of that. And in this movie, she plays Paige's mom, and she's actually a loving, caring, and not vindictive mother. The best way to describe this movie is this movie had a lot of heart. Like, I laughed. I didn't cry, but I choked up a little bit at certain moments. And I just had a great time watching this movie. Like, after the movie was over, again, I mentioned before, like, I knew nothing of the WWE superstar Paige. I heard nothing about her. I went home and I Googled her. I looked up clips of her wrestling matches on YouTube. I think that's the best thing that a movie, especially a movie that's based off a true story, can do for an audience. And that's how you know the movie is good, that it makes you want to go and research or learn about the topic of the movie to learn more about that. Like I said, even though this movie is more drama than it is comedy, I had so many laughs in this movie. I think I laughed the most at, there's a scene in this movie where Paige's brother is trying to impress his girlfriend's parents, and he invites them over for dinner. And I'm not going to get into spoilers, but basically there's a conversation that's had between the brother's parents, whose name is Zach, and the parents of his girlfriend. And I just laughed so much during that scene. One thing I always find interesting about entertainers specifically, and especially entertainers that choose not to use their real name, is how they come up with their stage name. And so being that her real name was Soraya, she had to come up with a stage name, and so she came up with Paige. And this is a very, 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 very minor spoiler alert. It was cool to see that the reason she came up with the name Paige is because she was a huge fan of Charmed. As you can see right here, I too am a huge fan of Charmed. I have seasons 1 all the way to season 8 right here on my DVD Blu-ray shelf. So I was like, oh, she's a Charmed fan? I'm already in love with her. The one thing I will say about this movie is there was something that happens at the end that kind of left me confused. I learned more about when I got home, and I was like, why didn't they really lean into that or talk about that more in the movie? And this isn't a spoiler to say because, again, it's based on the life of a real-life person, but Paige ends up becoming the WWE Divas Champion. So with this being about her life, she has her first match to become the Divas Champion. I was wondering why she was given the opportunity to become champion in the first place because of what they do in the movie. To me, it didn't make any sense for her to get that opportunity. But then when I got home and did some more research, I was like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. If they would have included that in the movie, I wouldn't have been as confused as I was. But despite all of that, I still enjoyed the movie. There was no real complaints to this movie. Again, I got to come up with a rating system, but I definitely give this movie an A. More times than not, when a movie is based off of true events, they always have a little crawl that comes and like tells you about things that happened after the movie, like such and such went on to whatever, or this happened, or this happened. And I thought it was funny because if you've seen the trailer, you know that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is in this movie. So I just thought it was funny that it goes, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson went on to have a very successful career outside of wrestling. And I'm sitting in there like, duh. So if you've seen Fighting With My Family, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Or are you a big wrestling fan? Did you used to watch wrestling growing up? And if you want to see more of me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'll leave the links down below for those. And also, I do a weekly podcast. I'll leave the link below for that as well. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.